My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Peruvian tour guide, originally from Lima, but this time transmitting from Cusco, from the capital of the Inca Empire. And here we have, well, the most amazing example of the Incan architecture and also the fusion of the Spanish architecture architectural tradition in Peru. This is the Coricancha, and well, here I would like to give you just a short walking tour into this neighborhood, into this part of Cusco, and tell you a bit more about the history of this location, some interesting facts, and more. So thank you so much for watching this video, this replay, if you're doing it as a replay, and thank you especially to my friends who are joining live. So well, let's flip the camera to the other side. And well, I just finished a very, very long 1 hour length tour, live tour, on Facebook. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, all the information to hit subscribe button on Facebook is here on YouTube as well. I do events on both platforms, here on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So I invite you also to visit that one if you're able. So here we are at the entrance to the Museum of Coricancha, and also known as the Museum of the Convent of the Dominicans, because what you are seeing here is the fusion of the Incan architecture. This is not actually the regular Incan architecture. This is the most sophisticated example of Incan architecture, of imperial architecture, which you can also see the difference in color. Notice there, for example, this material, this stone, which is green diorite, as I know also, which the stone actually comes from a nearby quarry in the location of nowadays Sacsayhuaman, and we can see all the material also here and all the design, all the style that is Spanish. So the Coricancha, or Temple of the Sun, which also was very beautifully decorated with gold, according to some chronicles, had not just like full sections of the walls of the temple covered with gold. Also, there were images of animals like llamas, for example, or even people in real size, but all made in gold, that were displayed around in the different terraces that are around the temple. So Coricancha also was a very important site, according to the chronicles, because ceremonies like the Inti Raymi, for example, the festivity of the sun that happens in the middle of the year on June, took place here in this site, and still nowadays, by the way. Also, part of the ceremonies related with the festivity of the Coricancha take place here outside this site. This is the starting point. Then after, the actors who represent the ceremony go to the main square of Cusco, to the Plaza de Armas, and after that they go to Sacsayhuaman for the grand finale of this ceremony. Okay, so well, we can see also that around this section, well, the climate is beautiful today for a little walk. Beautiful climate, blue sky, but not so sunny, which has allowed me also to conduct a tour of 1 hour and also continue with a little tour here also, and basically an invitation also for you to visit my Facebook and also watch the replays of all the events I've done for YouTube as well. So let's continue, and in this section, when you go to the Museum of Coricancha, so you get inside the church basically, and the convent. So you are able to walk inside this wall, so on the other side. And here in this part, there is a niche where the god Punchao, this very important god that kept inside the ashes of the hearts of all the Incan kings who passed away, well, they were all there inside that image, that figurine of gold. And something interesting is that that god Punchao was sent by request of the king of Spain to Spain, but sadly the god, the idol, the figurine disappeared. We don't know what happened with it. We don't know if it ever arrived to Spain. Okay, so there in that side was this figurine. Okay, and we can see here, I'm sorry, oh, I'm catching up my breath because we are in this moment at 3,400 meters above sea level. That in feet might be about 11,150 feet, above sea level. Well, so this is not my normal. I come from Lima at sea level, at zero sea level. Okay, so this is the entrance to the Church of the Dominicans. By the way, next month I'll be hosting here on YouTube an event using a recorded tour I did inside this museum, and I will be explaining live, of course, live narrative and a recorded tour of the museum inside. If you just want to learn a bit more about this place, and hopefully, because these events don't replace the experience of being here, hopefully you'll come in person and see Cusco and so many other museums here. Also, we are now at the entrance of the convent of Saint Dominic, which, by the way, is not anymore in use because there were several earthquakes which damaged the Spanish infrastructure placed on top of the Incan architecture. Earthquakes like the one of 1950, especially, probably the most terrible earthquake of the history of Cusco, which destroyed also most of the Spanish additions, revealing actually Incan architecture. Okay, so you have to come here, visit this museum. Is really fantastic. Okay, so let's continue walking and seeing a bit more of the streets of Cusco. And also remember that if you wish to send me a question or comment something, here we have the chat for us to keep in touch, to also for me to hear you. Also, there are lots of official tour guides around, so if you don't come with your own tour guide to Cusco or to a museum, there are several excellent professional tour guides that are actually uniform, that are waiting to take you in and give you the best information. Okay, so let's continue, and now we're going to walk through other streets here. Okay, and I'm gonna take you just for a little walk for a little while with me. So look at these Incan constructions, Incan architecture. You can definitely see the difference between the Incan architecture and the Spanish for multiple also reasons, but especially there is an element that is unmissable, is that the walls that are Incan are leaning in. They are not, okay? The reason why the Incan architecture has been able to last for so long and resist earthquakes. This, let's say, leaning in position, not straight position of the Incan walls, allows strength, durability during earthquakes. The Spanish architecture used stone. They didn't really use it in the exact same way like the Incas, because also these buildings, many of these buildings were Incan palaces, were not just homes for regular people or like in Europe rich people. They were homes for authorities that were designated by the gods. They were deities, alive deities. So the work put, or the amount of work put in the construction of those palaces was enormous. And that's why these houses were so perfect. The stones sometimes they don't have any separations between them in the moment of their union. You cannot put one string of hair between the rocks. This is the way how perfect the rocks are united. And here, for example, we have another example of this fantastic stone work. And of course, on top you see something completely different. So we have sections where the Spanish and the Incan stonework is so evident in terms of difference. And well, why the Spaniards didn't build like that? Well, they didn't need it to make the walls that perfect. First of all, they were building cities like against the clock, building churches. So they were trying to build them as fast as they could in this process of the evangelization that was more important, and also the process of occupation of the city. Okay, but they used the stone from, for example, Sacsayhuaman, another important temple not far away from here, and they used the indigenous to move the stones down. Okay, so well, there are also streets with which names also remind us the sufferings of the indigenous as they were bringing down the stone pieces, the stone blocks. They were huge, megalithic in some cases for them. So here we have the entrance into one of the entrances into another temple, which of course we don't use anymore, but this was one of the entrances. You will see a bit more of them. Coricancha is the name of this archaeological site. And notice also, like for example, the top of the dindle, the top of this entrance, of this door with doble jamba. Doble jamba means double frame, which means sacred, very, very sacred. Gracias. Very, very sacred. This is one block, basically, one block on top, like finishing or ending, well, the shape of a trapezoid. This is also another Incan element, architectural element, the trapezoid entrances, windows, niches also, which also allowed the durability of these sections during earthquakes. So Coricancha, another important archaeological site in Cusco. I think the highlight of this one is the fact that nowadays there's no Spanish construction on top. Sadly, in all of the rest of the cases, we have Spanish constructions on top, or we have, let's say, churches on top, houses on top, etc. So this was a place that, according to the Incan tradition, was the site where Incan Pachacutec was born. Okay, Coricancha. Cusi comes from Quechua as well as Cancha. There are two words in Quechua language that together mean, well, a site or a place or a temple of happiness. Okay, so this was the place that saw Inca Pachacutec, the one who renovated the world, the first one of these lineage of empires, Inca empires, being born. Okay, so we continue also in this direction. I'm going to show you just a little bit more of Cusco. I hope that you are enjoying this live stream from Cusco. Well, I am a professional tour guide born in Lima. I also do tours in person and virtual in the city of Lima. And I am spending 1 full month in Cusco. This is my dream come true. I wanted to be in Cusco, live in Cusco for so long. I have studied so much about Cusco also during my whole life since becoming a tour guide. And well, being here and showing you a bit of Cusco is one of my dreams come true. Okay, so this is another perspective of the temple or the site where Inca Pachacutec was born, and also, according to some specialists, one of his residences. Cusco had several palaces, one for each Inca of our history. According to traditional, let's say, like storytelling or history of the Incas, we had 14 Incas. There are some chronicles that mention many more, so it is quite hard to know exactly if there were only 14 Incas or there were more, but each one of our Incas had a palace, had a temple. And when the Incas died, that's very interesting because it's very different to, for example, let's say the European tradition in terms of, for example, the kings or the princes of Europe. So when the Inca died, his house was not given to the next in line, like you would expect, for example, in Europe. No? So the king who died, king replaced. No? But in the case of the Incan culture, well, the family or panaca of the Inca, well, took care of the mummy of that said Inca who passed away in his house. Okay, so, and the new Inca will have a new palace, we have a new temple. Okay, so isn't that amazing? It's really incredible. So there were several palaces in Cusco that also had mummies of their kings. Okay, so this is the street Maruri. Also, the name Maruri refers to, well, a family which had that name, that last name, who live in this street. And usually, well, the streets of Cusco have names that are related with authorities who live in that street, for example, back in the colonial times, or events, miracles, and some even still carry the Inca names given to that street before the conquest. And that is because Cusco has a particularity which, for example, cities like my city, Lima, don't have. Even though Lima, for example, existed before the arrival of the conquistadors, it had a city. Well, the Spaniards sort of like built the city completely like brand new using the pattern of checkerboard. Okay, so Greek pattern, okay, square. But Cusco, being so impressive, so unique, and also made of stone, the Spaniards couldn't just make a new city in Greek design, right? And being so powerful also in front of the indigenous, this city, so let's say religiously powerful and meaningful, they couldn't just build another city in another location. They couldn't dismiss using this city. So they used it and they built on top of what existed. And Cusco had the shape of a puma. So it is incredible, no, that there were cities in the times of the Incas that from the air, from up in the mountains, they had shapes of, for example, pumas, in this case like Cusco, trees, condors, and so many more. Okay, so here we can see part of the monastery of Saint Catherine of Siena, and Saint Catherine is also associated, is a saint, Catholic saint, associated with the Dominican order. So we saw the convent of the Dominicans, the male Dominicans, and we have here the convent of the female Dominicans. And this section here also reminds us the use given to this section of Cusco, to this building, to this unit in this part of the city before the arrival of the conquistadors, because once again the conquistadors built on top of the existing buildings, and sometimes they gave continuity to the buildings that existed. This was, for example, the temple of the Agyawasi. Agya means princess or chosen one, and Wasi is house. Okay, so this was the temple of the chosen women. And well, when the Spaniards came, they converted this already like sort of like nunnery space into a, well, convent for women, which, by the way, there are still women living in here, and they live in, let's say, in seclusion. They are enclosed, so they don't leave the building. There is another convent of Saint Catherine that is very important, located in Arequipa. That one is much bigger. It's like a city inside a city. It's a city inside Arequipa. And also that's a very famous touristic destination in that city. So here you can see the convent of Saint Catherine. And Saint Catherine of Siena was such an influencer, if we can use that word, also that modern word, but in the past. So many women in Peru and in Latin America, under, of course, the Spanish influence, the Catholic influence, saw Saint Catherine as a model, as an ideal of women, okay? And that's why also among so many women, well, came up this desire, this fervent desire to embrace the church, to embrace God, to marry God, and to live inside convents. I'm going to take a seat here also. And this reminds me that there is another convent, very important, this time from the Franciscans, because this one is Dominican, right? So the convent of St. Clare. St. Clare was a good friend of St. Francis of Assisi, and that convent was built for mestizo women. Okay, so there were convents for mestizos, there were convents for white women, there were hospitals for indigenous, there were hospitals for white people. So the level of specialization of some of the buildings is surprising. But what surprises me the most is that the Spanish offer certain levels of opportunities to all different ethnicities in cities like Cusco or in Lima, for example, the capital, trying also to embrace or give these opportunities to everyone. Okay, so this is really fantastic. I'm not saying they were angels, but I mean, if you compare them to other colonizers, I haven't seen really cases of those in, let's say, in other groups. No? So it's very interesting. Monastery of St. Catherine, and the street over here is Santa Catalina Angosta, the narrow St. Catherine. Angosto is narrow. Okay, and the other one is Santa Catalina Ancha, the wide St. Catherine. So some of the names are quite curious also. If you come to Cusco, don't miss this museum. It's really interesting. It's a museum that shows you how was life, monastic life of women back in the colonial times. So it's really a must. Highly, highly recommend you. And also there are wonderful tour guides in every museum, official tour guides that will tell you, as for example, the gentleman over there that you saw at the entrance, that will offer their guided fees. No? So independently, the price of the ticket. And we are just half a block away to the main square, Plaza de Armas of Cusco. Okay, look at also this interesting wall, sort of like coming out from the street. I hope you are starting to notice also there, that wall. That wall is part of an Incan construction. And well, it was beginnings of the 20th century when this street also, Santa Catalina Angosta, the narrow St. Catherine, was much narrower. It was like from here until more or less here. That was the width of the street. And this section also, right, it was open up. But in the process of opening the street, this Incan wall was discovered, was founded. So, well, this street, which is also like in a historic center, and it be protected. No, so that Incan wall over there. If I go across, I think I will show you even better. Look at this. Can you see that? Like the surprises that Cusco offers. Those are niches. Typical Incan niches with the shape of a trapezoid. This one is sadly like cut, beat, but you can see the other impeccably there. Okay, and the Incan architecture, like look at that. Like I cannot put like not even one string of hair between those rocks. Isn't that amazing? It's incredible. It looks like made of cement and mold, but it's a rock. Okay, so let's continue. And there you have the main square of Cusco. And it's starting to rain also. It's raining. And I love it because I come from the coast. And in Peru, that means I come from the desert. Okay? So, someone from the desert always loves the rain. Am I right? Okay, so here we have the main square of Cusco. What a beautiful view today. Well, it's going to rain hard, I'm sure. Look at the color of the clouds. But I have my umbrella. Don't worry for me. And, well, the main square with its incredible cathedral, with its beautiful Spanish Incan architecture, welcomes you any time of the year. You can come on the rainy season, you can come on the dry season. In every season, you will love Cusco. Also, try to avoid coming straight to the Andes if you're not used to elevations, if you don't come from a high city, which probably you won't because not many people live over 11,000 feet above sea level. So my suggestion is try to acclimate first a couple of days before coming to Cusco. You can visit, for example, after Lima, coming to the capital and try some wonderful food. You can go to Arequipa, which is over 2,000 meters above sea level, acclimate a little bit there. And well, then after you can go to Colca Canyon, you can see Puno, and then when you come to Cusco, you are ready. Also, if you cannot avoid like coming straight to Cusco because, let's say, well, for let's say time or budget, so I suggest you to, after coming and landing into Cusco City, you can go to the Sacred Valley and sleep at a hotel in a much lower elevation, and little by little going higher and getting adapted into this elevation. It took me many days, but now I feel like a local. Only I'm reminded that I am not a local when I have to go up. So here is the Cathedral of Cusco, also built on top of an Incan palace, as well as let me show you here, this is the Church of the Jesuits, or the Society of Jesus, which also is quite unique because usually in the main square you just have the cathedral in the main square of any city, any Hispanic city in the Americas, you have a cathedral. But this shows also that the Jesuits had such a tremendous power here in the Americas, something that eventually caused them to be expelled from this territory in the year 1767. So, well, and now I will finish this transmission. Thanks for your support, for being with me on this more or less half an hour walking here in Cusco, and also for your likes. Your likes help me very, very much. You can also support by any donation on PayPal. And lastly, if you wish to see all the previous events I've done in Cusco, please consider becoming my Patreon. With a little donation monthly, starting from $2, you can also support the production of my events, my trips also, and more. So, gracias. And now I'm going to flip the camera towards me. So, muchas gracias, amigos, and see you soon. This is my very last tour in Cusco's historic center. I've done several tours already, more or less 5 tours, taking you to different locations with lots of history. And but I will be doing more live streams. And I think we're going to be doing one in Aguascalientes town because I'm going to Machu Picchu. I'm not very sure how it's going to be the internet in Machu Picchu, so therefore I'm not sure if I will be live there, but at least from the town of Aguascalientes, of course, yes. Okay, so, and well, we have more coming. So, muchas gracias, take care, and best to you all. See you, have a lovely rest of the day. Bye-bye, take care.